It was nearly the 4th of July. The narrow gauge engines were working harder than ever before. All the standard gauge engines were busy too. One morning, Mr. Regan, Mr. Campbell, Mr. McCluskey, Miss S., Ray, and Paul came to the shed to discuss the 4th of July celebrations. This year, began Mr. Regan, we will be holding a 4th of July festival here in the yard for the public. We will have some carnival rides, and we're going to bring in some temporary track and some equipment from the Denville and Western to run around it. The engines enjoyed the sound of that. And, said Mr. McCluskey, we will have the very first great engine parade. The engines cheered, "Hooray! Hooray!" Mr. Campbell held up his hand for silence. We also have something else in store. What is it? Asked Larry. Then Miss S jumped in. A friend of the railway, a man by the name of Mr. Carl Benson, owns a 440 American-type locomotive from the 1800s. He has agreed to send him and 4 passenger cars to pull special trains leading up to the 4th of July. He will then lead the parade into the yard on July 4th. That sounds awesome, said Taylor. It's going to be a fun week, Chrissy added. It was then Ray's turn to speak. The engine and passenger cars will be here early tomorrow morning. He then turned to Amber and Roger. Amber and Roger, I want you two to collect them from Otisville early tomorrow morning. Yes, sir, said the 2 maintenance diesels. Paul then gave out the rest of the jobs for the day. The engines could not contain their excitement. Wow, said Andrew, a whole carnival, an engine parade, and a visiting engine coming from the 18th century. I know engines from that far back burned wood, said Kevin, but I've never actually met a wood burner. Have any of you? I haven't, replied Larry. Neither have I, Chrissy said. Well, it's going to be our first time meeting one, said Taylor. That's good. And we'll be the first ones to meet him, Roger said. I cannot wait. He probably has so many interesting stories, added Amber. The next morning, Amber and Roger arrived at Otisville. It was just after midnight. They found the visiting engine, his coaches, and Danielle waiting at the freight station. Be careful, whispered Danielle. He's sleeping. Oh, don't worry, Danielle, said Roger. We're going to make sure he has a nice, smooth ride, Amber said. And as soon as everything was ready, they set off. The next morning, the other engines woke up to see Amber and Roger pushing the 440 onto the turntable, who had also just waken up. What in tarnation, he said. This is the biggest welcome party I've ever seen. My name's Wilbur. What's yours? The engines went around the turntable introducing themselves. Well, nice to meet you, fine engines. I cannot wait to celebrate the 4th of July with all of you. Well, you're certainly very friendly, Chrissy smiled. You tend to pick it up over the years, young lass, he said. Chrissy giggled. I have a question, said Kevin. Well, go right ahead, youngster, replied Wilbur. If your name is Wilbur, why do you have the name Jupiter on your tender? Oh, because it's the 150th anniversary of the Golden Spike. So my owner decided it'd be fun to paint me like Jupiter, one of the engines that was there on that day. I actually met the real Jupiter once, in the early 19th century. He was a nice fellow. Why did engines like you burn wood back in the day? Larry asked. Because it was the only source of fuel before coal became a regular thing. Mr. Regan then walked up with Ray. Wilbur, we're so glad you made it on time. I'm glad to be here, sir, Wilbur said to Mr. Regan. All right, said Ray. You will start pulling your trains on the 2nd and pull additional trains on the 3rd. On July 4th itself, you will be on display at the station and you will lead our parade in the afternoon. Sounds good, said Wilbur. Amber, Roger, said Mr. Regan, take Wilbur to the yards. I want him to get a few test runs out in the yard. Yes, sir, said Roger and Amber, and they pulled Wilbur away. What a very interesting engine, said Emily. The next day, Manny, the Denville and Western's narrow gauge Mallet, was pushing Frederick, Vincent, and some narrow gauge rolling stock to the exchange siding. They were to be loaded on flat cars that Roger had brought in and taken to South Plainsville so they can participate in the 4th of July celebrations. At the lumber yard, Amber was picking up pre-assembled narrow gauge track, which was to be laid around the carnival. That way Frederick could give people rides. While all that was going on, Wilbur puffed into Denver with his first excursion train of the day. As he passed by Roger, the station agent came up. Roger, I need for you to leave these flat cars here while they're being loaded. You have to go help Cristion. He's stranded up the line. Oh, yes, sir, no problem, said Roger. Wilbur was confused. Up ahead, he saw Cristion stopped at Denville Junction. Why have you stopped here? Asked Wilbur. Oh, I've lost steam, said Cristion. I'm just waiting for help. Wilbur didn't say anything else. He just snorted and went to go turn around at Watsonville Loop. Cristion was confused on why Wilbur asked him what was wrong, and then when he told him, just snorted and then puffed away. That same afternoon, Wilbur arrived in Watsonville to turn his excursion train when he found Andrew at Watsonville Station. You don't look good, Andrew. What's wrong? Asked Wilbur. I'm having problems with my oil filter. I'm waiting for Kevin to come help. And just like he did with Cristion, Wilbur just snorted and then puffed away. Andrew was confused. That evening, Cristion and Andrew spoke about their encounters. I don't understand it, said Cristion. Why would he ask us what's wrong and then we tell him he does snorts? I was so confused, said Andrew. I wonder why he'd do that. Because you're wimps. Both engines looked up and saw Wilbur back into the sheds. One little inconvenience and you cry for someone else to help you. In my day, I had those same kind of problems. Well, aside from an oil filter, and I brought it home, even on one cylinder. Well, maybe in your day, said Cristion, maybe there wasn't a lot of engines around to help. Like hell there was. We have plenty of engines. Unlike you, we just bring the train on home, no matter what's wrong with us. You probably couldn't do half the work we do with these modern freight cars, said Andrew. I bet you I could, snapped Wilbur. I still have it. All right then, said Cristion. Tomorrow we'll prove it. You're on, said Wilbur. The next morning, the three went out to the yard. Wilbur was going to try to pull 3 modern coal cars. You sure you don't want to back out now? Said Cristion smugly. No chance, said Wilbur. I gotta show you young whippersnappers how a real engine works. All right, said Andrew, go ahead. So without hesitation, Wilbur pulled. Come on, it's only 3 freight cars. Made of metal, said Cristion smartly. Come on, I can do this. I can do this. His wheels spun helplessly. You sure you don't want to give up? Said Wilbur's driver. I gotta show these youngins what I'm made of. He pulled and he pulled. Something had to give. Just then, his tender coupling broke and shot forward. Quickly, his driver left in action to apply the brakes before he could derail the points that were set against him. Uh-oh, said Cristion. We're in trouble now, added Andrew. And they were. Mr. Regan spoke severely to them. I can't believe you would have poor old Wilbur pull modern freight cars. You should know he's not capable. Cristion and Andrew didn't say anything. They just looked down at their couplings. Is Wilbur okay, sir? Larry asked. I'm gonna go see now, said Mr. Regan. The workmen were inspecting him. What's the matter, said Mr. Regan. It's only his tender coupling for now. We could give him a more thorough examination when he gets to the works to repair that. All right, said Mr. Regan. We'll have to do that. So Roger took Wilbert to the works. Because Mr. Egan didn't want to refund the excursion passengers, he had Cristion pull Wilbert's excursion train, which means Cristion couldn't pull his mail train. So it had to be coupled up to Danielle's already heavy passenger train. This made Danielle very cross. To not risk Danielle stalling on Piscataway Hill, Chrissy had to be called to act as a helper as far as Piscataway. This in turn left Emily and Taylor to handle the coastal line traffic alone. And since Roger was away at the works with Wilbur, Andrew had to help Amber rearrange cars and equipment for the next day's celebration, which means Kevin and Larry had to split Andrew's work between them as well as do their own work. And all it was a terrible mess. Luckily, the only thing found that was wrong with Wilbur was his tender coupling, and that was soon fixed. While he was at the works complex, he was given a good washdown, and as soon as that was done, Roger helped him back to South Plainsville. The next morning, the festivities started, and people came from all over to participate. Frederick began making his runs around the fairground with a small narrow gauge train. A small temporary siding was built on the loop, and Vincent was on display with various narrow gauge work equipment. Aside the South Plainsville station was the vegetation control train and other maintenance of way equipment the Southern United Railroad uses. Inside the station was various different types of observation cars, along with food vendors and gift shops. At the end of the station, Wilbert was on display with two of his vintage passenger cars. Rodney, the shop switcher, was brought over from the works for the day and was doing demonstration turns on the turntable. Chrissy was pulling excursion trains over the first 5 miles of mainline trackage out of South Plainsville Station. And on the same 5 miles of track, Larry was pulling a demonstration freight train for photographers. Andrew was participating in this thing they had called Drive an Engine, where people would be able to drive them over a short section of track. Then time came for the parade. The first thing through was Wilbert pulling his vintage passenger cars. Then came Larry with a short freight train. After that came Andrew and Kevin coupled together. Following behind him was Cristion, pulling 2 cars from the mail train. Then Roger and Amber came from behind, coupled together. Following them was Taylor and Danielle pulling 1 passenger car. Once they were out of the way, came Chrissy and Emily. They were pulling 2 boxcars full of coffee beans. Last but not least was Milton, pulling an observation car from his express. Everyone cheered when the parade was over. The celebrations continued until the sun set and into the night when the fireworks started. All the engines gathered to watch. Cristion and Andrew were watching the fireworks by the pole hopper with Kevin. Wilbur then came alongside. Hey, listen, Andrew, Cristion, I'm sorry about the way I came at you guys yesterday. It was wrong of me. We accept your apology, said Andrew. Yes, said Cristion, we're sorry we made you pull those freight cars. We should have known you couldn't do it. I shouldn't have gotten too big for my cow catchers, Wilbur replied. Tomorrow I'm actually going to be leaving. That's a shame, sighed Cristion. I agree, said Andrew. It would have been nice for us to, talk since we're on better terms now. Mr. Regan and my owner are really good friends, smiled Wilbur. You never know, I may come back for another holiday someday. Yes, said Cristion, that's a positive way of looking at it. The 3 new friends smiled, and they continued to watch the fireworks until they were done.